Thanks very much, and good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining me for this week's wildfire update. Yesterday, we offered a more targeted update of the situation unfolding near Fort McMurray, but today we will return to our weekly wildfire update on activity and danger levels throughout the province. I'll begin with some good news today, which is that I'm proud to say that we've met our hiring targets for staffing levels this wildfire season, including the additional 100 seasonal government wildland firefighters provided by Budget 2024. A handful of firefighters will not begin work until next week, but all government firefighters were hired by our May 15th target. Today's update on current conditions and wildfire status. As I mentioned yesterday, some areas of the province have received rain in recent weeks, but wildfire danger has been elevated in many areas. We are currently fighting two out-of-control wildfires in the province. The wildfire to the southwest of Fort McMurray, which is under unified command with the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, is out of control, and we are also responding to a second wildfire to the north of Fort McMurray that is being held. Albertans who have been evacuated from their homes for 7 or more days can begin applying for a one-time emergency evacuation payment. Eligible evacuees will receive $1,250 per adult and an additional $500 per dependent child under 18. Albertans who have been evacuated as part of a formal evacuation order are eligible for this payment. Albertans who have voluntarily evacuated will not be eligible to apply. Now more than ever, it is crucial that Albertans take necessary precautions, stay up to date on fire bans, restrictions, and advisories in their area, and avoid activities that may lead to new human-caused wildfires. Our wildland firefighters continue working tirelessly to respond to and extinguish wildfires across our landscape. But these brave men and women need our help if we're going to prevent wildfires in the days and weeks ahead. So far this year, only one wildfire has been confirmed as lightning caused, and over 30,000 hectares of our forests have been impacted by wildfire. While this is an improvement over the 2023 wildfire season, where we had over 460,000 hectares burned at this point in time, the best thing we can do to support firefighters on the front lines is to prevent human-caused wildfires before they happen. This allows our Alberta wildfire personnel to focus their efforts on naturally occurring or out-of-control wildfires. Additional human-caused wildfires place strain on our resources and response capacity. So it's up to us as Albertans to remain vigilant in the coming weeks and do our part to protect our communities and forests. I know many folks are gearing up for some time outdoors this May long weekend. And as an outdoorsman myself, I'm proud of how enthusiastic Albertans and visitors to the province are about the sights and experiences provided by our natural spaces. If you're going to be camping, check the provincial park or recreation area for active fire bans, restrictions, or advisories, and make sure you properly extinguish your camp or cooking fire. Remember, soak the fire, stir the coals, and repeat these actions until the coals are cool to touch. Above all, never leave a fire unattended. I once again urge everyone to download the Alberta Wildfire and the Alberta Fire Bans apps and to follow all evacuation orders or advisories that may result from wildfires this season. Reports from the public also play a very important role in early wildfire detection and response. So if you see smoke or flames while spending time outdoors, call 310-FIRE to report it. No matter how you'll be enjoying the outdoors this weekend, please ensure you're doing so safely. Christy Tucker is with us again this morning to provide an operational update. Before I wrap up, I'd like to say once again to the communities evacuated due to the wildfire near Fort McMurray, Alberta's government is here for you during this challenging time, and we are working hard to ensure you can return home safely and as soon as possible. Thank you to all our firefighters for their courage and sacrifice as they continue to do an incredible job protecting our communities and forests. Thank you. Christy.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I'm pleased to say I do have some updated information on some of those out-of-control wildfires. There are currently 44 wildfires burning in the forest protection area of Alberta. Of those now, just one is classified as out of control. 5 are being held and the rest are under control. So far this year, we've had 323 wildfires that have burned just over, as the Minister said, 30,000 hectares. Our one out-of-control fire is in the Fort McMurray forest area. MWF 017 didn't grow overnight. It did move slightly to the northwest towards the Athabasca River, but it remains 5.5 kilometers from Fort McMurray limits and 4.5 from the highway. The size has now been reassessed to 19,820 hectares, slightly smaller than it was assessed previously. Night vision-equipped helicopters flew last night for 7.5 hours, and they were concentrating on the hottest parts of the fire in the northeast and south. Today, winds from the east and rain showers are expected in that area throughout the day, and it'll give firefighters a chance to make further progress containing the fire. I'm pleased to say that due to the hard work of firefighters, the Kleskin Creek fire, 4 kilometers east of the town of TP Creek, is now classified as being held, and a new wildfire that was detected yesterday north of Fort McMurray is also now being held at less than 1 hectare in size. We're seeing rain and cooler temperatures in much of the province this week, but unfortunately, the northern part of the province is expected to stay drier and warmer, particularly in the northwest in the high-level area. As a precaution, there are some fire bans in place, as the minister mentioned, in areas of higher risk in the northern parts of the province. The May long weekend is traditionally a time when Albertans like to head out into the forest looking for camping or recreational activities as the weather warms up. It's also the time when we see the most new wildfires start here in this province. Last year, we were well into our record-breaking season by the May long weekend. We asked Albertans to voluntarily reconsider their plans to help reduce the number of human-caused wildfires, and they responded. This year, they can take action again. Be sure to respect any bans or restrictions in place over the weekend. 67% of wildfires are caused by people, and this weekend we want people to be safe, be smart, and to help us reduce wildfires in Alberta, and visit albertafirebans.ca. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Christine, and thanks, Minister. We'll go to questions now. I believe there's no one on the phone at this point. If anyone does join, we'll go to the phone. So we'll start in the room. Usual thing, name and outlet, 1 question, 1 follow, please.
Sure. Catherine Gurkowski, Alberta Today. So I think Minister Loewen, you had mentioned previously that some of the crews were having trouble with some of the heavy equipment when the ground is wet. I'm wondering, maybe Chris can speak to operationally, like how does the wet ground in that kind of muskeg area affect what you can do with heavy equipment in that area?
Yeah, because of the weight of the heavy equipment and the softness of the ground, they have a hard time moving around to get to the fire. That was one of the challenges right off the start with that fire, is getting the equipment to the fire line. And we were able to get it to the fire line after a certain amount of time, but when they started working on it, then they were limited on how much fire line they could build. That wet ground, even though it seems counterintuitive that the wet ground would be reduce the fire activity, some of that is black spruce, which burns very well, actually. And so the fire can be going through an extremely wet area and just burning on top. And I'll have Christy add some.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, this is what we do. We know the terrain, and the contractors we've worked with for many years know the terrain as well. So it is something certainly that we come to expect. We know what it's like to work in that area. We have different weights of heavy equipment and different kinds of heavy equipment that can be used. And of course, the number one thing that puts a wildfire out is firefighters on the ground.
And I wanted some clarification on the staffing, because my impression was that everybody had already been hired and May 15 was the date for them to be trained and ready to go on the ground. So how many people are you expecting to have next week when you said a handful?
Yeah, so what has happened is, as we went through the season and done our hiring, the hiring has been done for quite a while. But now it was getting everybody through the training process. So that training has been taking place and has been going on, and we're wrapping up this week the last group of training. But there has been some people that, for personal reasons, couldn't start right away, so they will be starting at a later time. I shouldn't say a later time, but probably next week. So.
Jonathan Bradley, Western Standard. So you mentioned that everyone's been hired up to work with, like, to be ready to fight off fires. What were some of the challenges you faced when it came to getting to the deadline and meeting final recruitment?
You know, the Hinton Training Centre, which is a great centre. There's a lot of people from across Canada. They're envious of our Hinton Training Centre. I was able to spend some time there this winter myself and actually sit with some of the crews while they were being trained. And But as we go through that training process, there's only so many that can be done each week. And so that was a process that we went through. A lot of our firefighters are university students, and so we would be training them as they finish their studies and coming into the fire season. And in addition, with Budget 2024, we were able to hire the extra 100 government employed firefighters plus the other 40 contracted firefighters. And so we had to wait for Budget 2024 to come into place before we could actually make that commitment to those people, and then to bring them online and then getting them through the training process.
Thank you. And my follow-up pertains to the payments the one-time payments that people can receive. You mentioned it's only for areas under an evacuation order, but there are a bunch of areas in Fort McMurray that are under an evacuation alert, and there are people from those areas who have left. I've spoken to one actually. So why did you feel that people under an evacuation alert shouldn't receive that funding when some people from that area, from those areas, are evacuating?
Yeah, and I'll probably turn that over to Steve Lacroix, but how the evacuation payments work is if you're evacuated, you receive the payments after 7 full days of being gone. If you're not evacuated, then the payments would come into play. But I'll let Steve.
Thanks, Minister. Obviously, this was a decision made by Cabinet and carefully considered. I would park it under prudent stewardship of public monies. And if everybody that may feel that they want to evacuate, although I do empathize with the stress and maybe some of the leftover trauma for 2016 for some folks in Fort McMurray particularly, the determination was to make those payments available to actual evacuees under an evacuation order. Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan.
And just to follow up on that's consistent with what's been done in the past.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thanks, Minister. Anyone else in the room? Looks like we have someone on the phone, so operator, please go ahead and put through a caller if we have one.
Jeremy Thompson, CTV.
Hi there. Just wondering what impact this in Fort McMurray might have. Evacuation orders. Feeling this rain, seeing this rain, and needs like go sooner.
I think I've got that one. You're pretty broken up there, but I think what you're saying is with the change in weather, how does that affect the evacuation order? Am I correct there?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so the weather conditions definitely help as far as the firefighting on the ground, and that's been made a big difference for us, obviously. When it comes to the evacuation itself, that's a determination that's made by the municipality. As Wildfire, we provide the information on the fire and the risks associated with the fire and its movement, and then the municipality makes the decision on the evacuation, and they'll also make the decision on the return of the evacuees.
Thanks, Minister. Jeremy, follow, and sorry, we may need to ask you to repeat, the line's breaking up.
That's okay. On a follow-up.
Sorry, Jeremy. Did you say no follow, or are we just not getting you?
No follow.
Okay,
Good.
perfect.
Thank you. We wouldn't hear it anyway, so that's good. So any other questions in the room?
Maybe just like in the areas, since it is May long, in the areas where there isn't a fire ban, but maybe an advisory, are you asking people to maybe reconsider fires, or is it just being smart and making sure they're put out, or?
It's always a good idea if you're having a campfire to ensure that it's out. Even if you're living in an area with low wildfire danger, certainly all of those maps and that information is available on our website, and we will let people know if there is a fire ban or restriction in their area. But if you are in an area with a fire advisory or a no fire restriction or ban in place, certainly it's always a good idea just to observe safe behavior when interacting in the forest, and not just with campfires, but if you are driving an off-highway vehicle, if you are working out in the outdoors or burning anything or using equipment that may throw off sparks, those are all activities that can cause a wildfire. So certainly it's always best to have a heightened awareness anywhere in the forested areas, particularly at any time in the summer, even if there's a little rain on the ground. Let's not forget that we have been in a drought situation here in this province for a year or more, and there are areas in the north of the province that have long-term dried out fuels that could be used by a wildfire. So certainly always a good idea to be aware. A little bit of rain does not mean that there is a zero chance of starting a wildfire.
Thanks, Christy. So any other questions in the room? Looks like none, so we'll wrap there. Thanks, Minister, Christy, Stephen. We'll go ahead next week with the scheduled update on Thursday. Watch for notices if the circumstances warrant another update. We'll do another update before then, if it's warranted, so just watch for that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.